Before we get into it, I need you to lock in, because this message ain't for everybody. It's for the ones who say they want more out of life, the ones tired of talking, tired of pretending, tired of explaining themselves to people who don't even believe in them. See, there comes a point where you got to stop trying to convince the world who you are and become it. The loudest person in the room is rarely the one making moves. Talking feels good in the moment, but results speak a language nobody can argue with. So today we're talking about shutting your mouth, staying committed, and letting your work do all the talking. Everybody has a dream they talk about. Everybody has that one day I'm gonna speech ready to go at any moment. You'll hear people say they're about to start a business, about to get in shape, about to drop a project, about to change their life. But here's the truth that separates the ones who actually break through from the ones who stay stuck in the same place year after year. Talking about it doesn't build it. Speaking on your plans might feel good. It might make you look motivated for a moment, but it doesn't move the needle forward 1 inch. Action is what builds. Work is what creates. Execution is what turns dreams into something you can touch, measure, or stand on. When you talk too much about your plans, you trick yourself. There's real science behind that. A study out of NYU found that when you speak publicly about your goals, the brain releases dopamine, the same chemical that hits when you actually complete a goal. So you feel like you accomplished something just by talking about it. That means a lot of people are getting high off conversation, not off achievement. They're feeding off the reaction, the "that's dope, bro," the "you got this, sis," the retweets, the comments, the temporary validation that comes from sounding like you're on the path instead of actually being on the path. And once you've already felt that satisfaction, your hunger to grind decreases. The urgency that should push you into action gets replaced by a feeling of "I'm already doing it" when you haven't even begun. If you really pause and look around your circle, you'll see this everywhere. You know someone who's been about to launch for years. They posted the pre-announcement, the teaser, the big things coming soon in their bio. They told everyone to watch, but if you go back 12 months later, nothing changed. No progress, no product, no results. Why? Because they spent more energy on looking like they were grinding than actually grinding. They wasted more breath than sweat. Their dream lived in conversation, not in motion. You can't build a house with a blueprint you only talk about. You gotta pick up the bricks and lay them down, one silent brick at a time, even when nobody is clapping. Execution is quiet. Progress is quiet. Success is built behind closed doors long before people see it. The world sees the launch, the results, the achievement, but the real work, the hours of learning, practicing, failing, adjusting, happens in silence. Real builders don't need an audience to begin. They don't wait for applause to start taking steps. They don't need to convince anyone that they're serious because the work proves it on its own. Think about anyone who truly changed their life. It wasn't the announcement that transformed them. It was the nights they didn't sleep because they were studying new skills. It was waking up early when no one was checking for them. It was sacrificing comfort while others partied. It was declining the need to impress people for the long-term reward of actually becoming who they pictured themselves to be. Their actions compounded. Small steps done daily, quietly, turn into a different reality. The problem today where people want credit before the accomplishment. They want praise before the product. They want the status of the grind, not the grind itself. But the truth is, when you're fully locked into your purpose, you don't even have the time or desire to talk about it every day. You're too busy doing the work. You're too focused on execution to be worried about presentation. Your results become the statement. And let's be real, a lot of talking comes from insecurity. People talk because they're hoping someone will validate their dream so they can feel good enough to chase it. But that's backwards. You don't need a cheerleader to start, you need discipline. You need belief that doesn't rely on public support. Many of the greatest moves people made were done in silence because they understood how fragile early stages are. When a dream is brand new, it's like a flame in the wind. Too much exposure and it blows out. Protecting that flame means fueling it with consistent action, not with words that invite opinions, doubts, or negativity. Instead of looking for external validation, talk to yourself less and prove to yourself more. Replace "I'm gonna" with "I'm doing." Replace "I hope" with "I'm building." Replace "watch me" with "you'll see." There's a different level of power when the work speaks for you. People respect results because results can't be faked. You can fake the appearance of motivation, you can fake the grind online, but you can't fake outcome. The people who are really moving in life know something most folks don't. Momentum grows in silence. When nobody knows what you're doing, there's no pressure, no expectation, no eyes waiting for you to slip. You get to build at your own pace, learn without judgment, stumble without scrutiny, and rise without resistance. And then one day, when you show up with something completed, something polished, something real, people can't deny it. They can doubt your words, but they cannot doubt evidence. If you think back on chapters of your life where you actually leveled up, you'll realize the shift didn't happen during the talking phase. It happened the moment you stopped explaining your plans and started taking steps. Maybe it was when you finally applied for that course, when you stopped telling everyone you were going to get fit and actually hit the gym consistently, when you stopped telling people you were going to save money and actually made a budget and stuck to it. Progress didn't come from intention. It came from execution. Every dream demands payment, not in words, but in effort, discipline, sacrifice, consistency, and time. You can talk all day and still owe the fee. The price must be paid in full through action. Words don't get you in the rooms you want to be in. Work does. Words don't build your reputation, patterns do. Words don't secure respect, results do. So if you want to separate yourself from the crowd, start by talking less and doing more. Put your head down for 6 months and watch how different your life looks. Go ghost for a year and focus on execution, and people won't even recognize you when you return. Move in silence, not because it's trendy, but because it's effective. Because the less you talk, the more energy you have to build. Because when the work is real, you don't need to announce it. The world will feel it. And when you finally show your results, when you finally reveal what you built brick by brick, step by step, silently, those same people who doubted you, ignored you, or never took you seriously will have no choice but to respect what you've become. Not because you told them, but because you showed them. Not everybody is meant to see the early stages of your dream. We live in a time where people feel pressure to broadcast every move, every idea, every plan, the moment it pops into their mind. But the truth is, the more you expose your vision before it's ready, the more vulnerable it becomes. Not everyone will root for you. Some people don't want to see you rise because your elevation reminds them of their own stagnation. When you start climbing, it forces others to confront why they stayed where they are, and not everybody is built with the humility to clap for growth they didn't choose for themselves. That's why silence isn't secrecy out of fear, it's protection out of wisdom. There's a certain power in keeping your vision to yourself until it grows stronger. When you speak too early, you open the door for doubt, negativity, and opinions that can weaken your belief before it fully forms. Words from the wrong mouths can plant seeds of insecurity in your soil. Someone drops one comment like, "Are you sure that's going to work?" Or, "People don't make money doing that," and suddenly your plan doesn't feel as solid. You start questioning whether you're capable, whether it's realistic, whether you're dreaming too big. But those doubts didn't come from your own heart. They came from exposing something that wasn't ready for the world yet. Think about a seed. Before it becomes a tree, before it bears fruit, before it gives shade or beauty, it spends time underground, in darkness, unseen, unannounced. If you dig up a seed while it's developing because you want to show progress, you kill it. Your ideas need that same protected space. They need time to develop roots, knowledge, confidence, discipline, skill, and the mindset to sustain the dream once it becomes visible. Growth happens beneath the surface long before the world ever sees a result. So many people want the applause without first surviving the soil stage. But without that underground growth, the first storm will take you out. Your vision needs privacy to breathe and take shape without the pressure of outside expectations. When something is fragile and new, it needs nurturing, attention, and patience. Sharing it too early means you're letting people into a room you haven't finished building yet. And some folks will come in dirty-footed, tracking doubt, jealousy, fear, and projections all over your clean floors. You end up spending more time cleaning up their energy than constructing your dream. There's a real-life reason why successful companies and innovators don't announce every detail of what they're creating. A lot of startups operate in stealth mode for months or even years, not because they're scared someone will steal their idea, because early feedback can crush innovation before it matures. If people critique a vision that isn't fully developed, the creators might scrap it too soon or reshape it to please others instead of trusting their original instinct. Many of the greatest inventions and projects were ridiculed at the beginning by people who couldn't see what the visionary saw. If the creators had listened, the world would have missed out. You are no different. Your dream deserves the chance to grow into something undeniable before the world gets a vote. Protect your vision until it's strong enough to stand on its own 2 feet. Silence gives you space to grow without interference. It gives you room to fail in private, adjust in private, learn in private, and come back better without everyone watching, judging, or commenting. A lot of the time, people speak about their goals too soon because they want validation. They want someone to tell them they're capable, that the dream makes sense, that they're on the right track. But if you need applause to start, you'll collapse the moment the applause stops. Validation from others is borrowed confidence. Real confidence is built through preparation and effort when no one is clapping. Your dream becomes stronger when you water it with discipline instead of compliments. When you're building something meaningful, you'll notice the universe starts sending small confirmations directly to you. Opportunities, resources, connections, ideas, growth. But those cues are meant for you, not for your whole contact list. Some blessings aren't meant to be posted. Some progress isn't meant to be shared, not yet. Not until the fruit is visible on the tree. Silence isn't about being antisocial or acting mysterious for effect. It's about being intentional with your energy. It's about surrounding your vision with people who feed it, not drain it. Be careful who you share with. Some people will only listen to respond, not to understand. Some will only support once the world agrees you're worth supporting. Some will pretend to cheer for you while secretly hoping you trip because your success threatens the excuses that keep them comfortable. You don't need the world to believe in your dream for it to work. You need you to believe in enough to protect it. Let your silence be your shield. Let your focus be your filter. Let your actions be your announcement when the time is right. Think back to the moments in your life when you made the most growth. Chances are, it wasn't when you were talking about change. It was when you disappeared for a while, got focused, and came back transformed. You might have distanced yourself from certain people, certain habits, certain environments. You might have stopped sharing your every move because you needed to reset and rebuild. And when you returned, people said you've changed or what happened to you. They didn't see the process, but they couldn't deny the results. That's the power of private evolution. There's also an emotional piece that comes from moving in silence. You eliminate outside noise, pressure, and comparison. When no one knows what you're working on, you don't feel rushed, you don't feel watched, you don't feel judged. You're free to move at your pace, experiment, refine, and create from a place of authenticity, not performance. You're operating from purpose, not from the need to impress. And when you do eventually share your vision, when the seed becomes a sprout and then a plant and then a tree, your growth will speak louder because nobody saw it coming. That's when the impact hits harder, not because you stay quiet to surprise people, but because you stay quiet to protect the process that made the result possible. People respect what they can't deny, and a dream built in silence becomes impossible to ignore once it's visible. So keep your vision sacred while it's still fragile. Guard it like something priceless because it is. Share it only with those who truly support your growth, understand your mindset, and add value rather than doubt. Let the world see the final product, not the early draft. Silence doesn't mean you're hiding, it means you're planting. And when you're planting, you don't owe the world a play-by-play. When the fruit shows up, that will be your explanation. That will be your statement. That will be your proof. Everybody wants the moment that changes everything. They want the big break, the viral post, the overnight win, the one opportunity that flips their life from struggle to success. But the truth nobody wants to sit with is that results don't come from a single moment. They come from a collection of moments, thousands of small, unglamorous, repetitive actions that compound over time. Success is built in the quiet hours when nobody is rewarding you, nobody is praising you, nobody is validating you. Consistency is the real flex because anybody can work hard once. The rare ones show up relentlessly long after the excitement fades. People admire success because they see the highlight, the finish line, the trophy moment. What they skip over, the part they don't want to imitate, is the grind it took to get there. They idolize the result, not the repetition. It's easy to clap for someone when they're winning. It's easy to repost their achievements, quote their captions, and attach yourself to the finished product. But the real respect goes to the person who kept going when nobody cared, when nobody listened, when nobody understood the vision but them. Consistency is waking up early when the bed feels warm and your excuses feel convincing. It's choosing discipline over comfort, even when you're tired of trying. It's working on your goals after a long day when your body says stop, but your future says keep pushing. It's training in the dark so that one day when the lights hit, the performance looks effortless. People think the ones who made it must have had some magic advantage, some lucky break, or some moment of fate, but most of them were just consistent long after everyone else quit. Look at any great athlete. Before the medals, before the endorsements, before the record-breaking moment, they were in the gym training when no one was watching. They repeated the same drills thousands of times. They practiced when they were sore, when they were sick, when they had every reason to take a day off. That's why their talent turned into mastery, and that story repeats in every field. Every entrepreneur who built something meaningful didn't do it in a week. They stayed committed through months and years of setbacks. Every creator who found their voice didn't do it with one piece of content. They stayed consistent through their awkward stage, their trial and error stage, their nobody's checking for me stage. Longevity isn't handed out. It's earned in silence. Showing up daily is the ultimate self-respect. You've proven to yourself that your future matters more than your temporary feelings. You're showing that you're committed to becoming someone your younger self will look up to. Consistency is how you build trust with yourself. And when you trust yourself, you become unstoppable. Because you no longer wait for motivation or perfect conditions. You know you'll show up regardless. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the engine. Motivation feels good, but it's unreliable. It's emotional, temporary, influenced by weather, mood, who texted you back, who didn't, how your day went. If you only work when you feel motivated, you'll never build momentum. Discipline is different. Discipline shows up even when motivation overslept. Discipline doesn't negotiate. Discipline doesn't ask if you're in the mood. Discipline honors the promise you made to yourself long after the energy that made the promise has faded. People think consistency means intensity, like you have to go all out every day. That's not it. Real consistency is about not quitting. It's about showing up even if all you can offer today is 60%, but you give that 60% fully. It's better to move slow than to stop completely. It's better to take tiny steps for a year than sprint for a week and burn out. Too many people go hard for a short burst, then disappear for months. When life hits, the winners pace themselves. They find a rhythm. They don't sprint, they build endurance. Consistency also requires patience. That's another reason most people fall off. We're living in a culture addicted to instant gratification. Everyone wants fast results and immediate payoff. If they don't see dramatic progress in 2 weeks, they give up and call the dream unrealistic. But growth compounds quietly at first. The first week, nothing seems different. The first month, change is barely noticeable. But stay disciplined for 6 months. A year, 2 years, and the transformation becomes something people can't ignore. You become the proof that sticking with something long enough turns impossible into normal. Think about someone who went to the gym consistently for 2 years compared to someone who worked out intensely for 2 months and quit. The consistent one, even with smaller daily effort, ends up with better results, not because they were stronger, but because they never stopped. In business, the person who posted valuable content for a year with no audience eventually breaks through. The person who posted for 2 weeks and gave up left their success on the table. Consistency always wins the long game. And one of the hardest parts of consistency is showing up when life hits you. It's easy to stick to your routine when things are smooth, when energy is high, when the path is clear. But real growth happens on the days you push through pain, heartbreak, doubt, setbacks, and stress. Those days shape you. Every time you choose discipline in a moment of adversity, you strengthen your character, you build resilience. And resilience is what separates temporary effort from sustainable success. You'll lose people on your journey because most people don't want to commit to anything long term. They'll call you obsessed, too focused, too serious. They'll try to pull you back into comfort and distraction. But consistency requires prioritizing your future over their opinions. You can't grow in a crowd that has no plans for growth. Eventually, your routine will look like isolation to those who fear commitment. But the solitude that consistency demands is the same solitude that excellence is born through. The most consistent people aren't the loudest. They don't announce their grind every day. They don't need to prove anything through words. Their life shows the work. Their results speak for them. When people finally notice them winning, they'll call it talent, luck, timing, anything except consistency, because consistency forces them to face the fact that they could have done it too if they hadn't quit. If you internalize one thing, let it be this: your future is shaped by what you do repeatedly, not what you do occasionally. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to move fast. You just need to keep moving. Even small effort applied daily compounds into extraordinary change. And the most valuable thing consistency builds isn't success, it's identity. You become someone who can rely on themselves, someone who can overcome resistance, someone who finishes what they start. Consistency is the real flex, because staying committed when nobody applauds takes strength most people don't have. Anyone can show up on day one. The ones who win show up on days 50, 200, 700, when it's boring, when it's repetitive, when it's tough, when the world has moved on. And one day, those small, quiet, disciplined steps will lead you exactly where you dreamed of being. Then everyone will call it a miracle, but you'll know it was consistency. When you really lock in on your purpose and put in the kind of work that can't be denied, something powerful starts to happen. You stop having to introduce yourself. You stop having to prove yourself. You stop having to convince people to believe in you, support you, or take you seriously. Your results do all that without you opening your mouth. When your work is real and your impact is visible, the world shifts in how it approaches you. People come looking for you, not the other way around. That's a different level of influence. One you don't have to demand. One you don't have to beg for. One you don't have to perform for. It's earned. And because it's earned, it's solid. In today's world, a lot of people want influence before they've built anything. They want followers without value, respect without effort, attention without proof. They want the crown without carrying the weight. They talk loud, they post loud, and they try to convince everyone they're doing big things. But influence that comes from noise is temporary. It fades the moment someone louder enters the room. Influence that comes from results stays because it's rooted in truth. People can debate your opinions, but they can't debate your evidence. You ever notice something about the people who are actually successful? The ones who are truly stacking, truly leading, truly making moves. They don't need to show off. They don't need to scream, "I'm a boss," or point to their lifestyle every 5 seconds to get validation. They don't flash their accounts, their assets, or their achievements just to prove a point. You can see it in how they carry themselves, how they move, how they treat others, and how their presence shifts a room. Their life speaks for them. Their discipline speaks for them. Their results speak for them, louder than any flex could. Because real influence isn't about perception, it's about impact. Anybody can look successful for a moment online. You can rent the car, take the picture, post the caption, and fool some people. But you can't fake longevity. You can't fake consistency. You can't fake the respect that comes when your results are real. And that's why the quiet grinders eventually outgrow the loud pretenders. One is performing, the other is producing. When your work hits a certain level, doors start opening that talking could never unlock. Opportunities begin to seek you out because people want to align with something that's proven, not promised. You won't have to pitch yourself as much because your track record becomes your resume. Your name travels places you haven't stepped into yet. People start mentioning you in rooms you don't know exist. Someone recommends you for a partnership, a project, a stage, a deal, not because you asked, but because your results made you undeniable. That's a different type of success. It's silent but loud, quiet but powerful. You become magnetic. And the right kind of people, builders, leaders, achievers, recognize that energy instantly. They respect the grind because they know what it costs. They respect the discipline because they live it too. They respect the work because results recognize results. Think about it. When someone has really put in the work and created something valuable, they don't have to sell themselves. You feel it, you see it. Their name carries weight because it's tied to execution, not empty promises. That's why influence built on results is unshakable. It's not held up by hype, it's held up by truth. It's not based on opinion, it's based on evidence. And evidence shuts down every argument. When your results speak, everything about your life elevates. The way people treat you shifts. The respect you receive changes. Folks who once overlooked you start paying attention. People who doubted you fall silent. The same individuals who ignored you when you were building start asking for advice, ask for collaboration, or wants to stand next to what you built. That's the power of results. They change the narrative without you having to clap back, defend yourself, or prove anything. And the influence that rises from results has a different kind of energy. It's not loud, it's not desperate, it's not ego-driven. It's rooted in ownership. It's rooted in mastery. It's rooted in the kind of confidence that doesn't need an audience. It was born during the grind when nobody was watching. You're not trying to impress anybody because you remember the season when nobody cared. You're not moved by applause because you've built enough to know. Applause doesn't sustain momentum. Purpose does. It also forces people to approach you differently. When your results are real, people can't play with you. They can't question your value. They can't minimize what you bring to the table. Your work set the standard. So the respect isn't based on personality, networking, or popularity. It's based on who you've become and what you've done. And that kind of respect doesn't fade when trends shift. It holds because it's earned. Look at the people history remembers, the ones who shifted culture, industries, communities, families. They weren't the loudest during the process. Most of them were underestimated at first. People didn't take them seriously in the beginning. They were counted out, brushed off, doubted, criticized. But they stayed committed, kept building, kept showing up. And when the results hit, the world had to listen. Not because they demanded attention, but because their results made the world pay attention. That's the path you want, because when influence comes from results, it's not fragile. It doesn't collapse when someone questions you. It doesn't break because someone dislikes you. It doesn't shake when trends change or opinions shift. It stands because it was built on effort, sacrifice, and execution, things nobody can take away from you. And the most powerful part, when your results create influence, you no longer chase approval, you choose impact. You no longer shrink yourself to fit in, you expand in the direction you were meant to grow. You no longer talk about your worth, you walk into every room knowing it. Influence built on results is a form of freedom. You don't rely on validation, you rely on your record. You don't rely on hype, you rely on alignment. You don't rely on proving yourself, you rely on becoming more of yourself. So keep your head down and build. Stay focused long enough to create something undeniable. Put so much work into your craft that one day the world will repeat your name without you having to say a word. Because when you get results, you don't chase influence. Influence finds you. When everything is said and done, when your name is no longer trending, when the followers stop refreshing your page, and life has run its full course, the world won't measure you by what you plan to do. Nobody is going to sit around talking about the speeches you made, about the goals you almost chased, or the dreams you kept saying were coming. They'll remember what you actually built, who you lifted up, and how you made people feel. That's the truth most people ignore while they waste years talking instead of creating. Words fade fast. Work lasts. The work becomes the story people tell when you're not in the room anymore. The work becomes the evidence of who you really were, not who you pretended to be. Think about the people in your own life who left lasting impressions on you. It wasn't because they talked a good game. It was because they showed up. It was the coach who stayed after practice to help you get better. It was the neighbor who looked out for people on the block. It was the family member who never had much but was always willing to share what they did have. Their impact came from action, not announcement. You felt them, you remember them because of how they made you feel, what they did when nobody asked them to, how they added value to people's lives. That's legacy on a human level, and everybody has the ability to create that kind of legacy, no matter where they start. Look around your city, your neighborhood, your community. Look at the murals, the names on buildings, the organizations that still operate after the founder is long gone. Look at the local legends people still talk about decades later. They didn't earn that respect because they posted about what they were going to do. They earned it by stepping up and doing it. They left footprints. They built something that outlived them. They stood for something when it wasn't popular, when it was risky, when nobody was clapping. They created, they helped, they sacrificed. They planted seeds that grew into something bigger than themselves. That's why their names still circulate through time like currency. Legacy isn't created by intention, it's created by execution. A lot of people intend to do great things. They intend to start businesses, give back, invest in the youth, break generational curses, shift their family's narrative. But intention without execution is just imagination. It's a daydream disguised as a plan. The world is full of people with potential, but potential means nothing if it's never used. There are people who died with ideas that could have changed lives, books that could have inspired millions, solutions that could have opened doors for their communities, but because they never put action behind those ideas, those gifts were buried with them. Don't let that be your story. The powerful thing about legacy is that it doesn't require perfection. It requires purpose, consistency, and heart. You don't have to wait until you make it big to start building a legacy. You start by being intentional with how you live right now. Legacy is built in how you treat people, how you handle challenges, how you show up for yourself and others. It's built in whether you choose fear or courage, comfort or growth, excuses or evolution. Every decision you make is either adding to your legacy or taking away from it. You're riding it daily with your habits, your discipline, your character, your choices. Some people think legacy belongs only to celebrities, inventors, or wealthy individuals with buildings named after them. That's not the truth. Legacy lives in households, in friendships, in mentorships, in conversations that shift someone's mindset. Legacy is the kid who grows up believing in themselves because you believed in them first. Legacy is the younger cousin who watches you climb, so now they know it's possible. Legacy is breaking a destructive family cycle so the generation after you doesn't inherit the same wounds. Legacy is choosing healing so your children don't have to heal from you. That alone can rewrite a whole bloodline. And understand this, legacy requires courage. It often demands that you do things that don't pay off immediately. It demands you take risk, ignore doubters, and keep going even when the results are slow, even when you feel unseen. Legacy asks you to sow seeds that might not bloom until years later, maybe even after you're gone. But that's the beauty of it. You're contributing to something that doesn't just serve you, it serves others. That's wealth beyond money. That's purpose beyond ego. There's a reason people who build legacy carry themselves differently. There's a certain dignity in knowing you're moving with intention. When you start thinking beyond yourself, your decisions sharpen. You stop wanting temporary wins and start focusing on timeless impact. You stop chasing trends and start building foundations. You stop living for applause and start living for alignment, because you understand you're constructing something people will still feel when your voice is no longer here to speak it. Legacy forces you to ask deeper questions. What will my kids inherit from me besides bills or trauma? What will people say about me when my name comes up? Did I just survive life, or did I use my time to make a difference? Did I choose comfort, or did I choose growth? Did I leave excuses behind, or did I leave a blueprint for others to follow? Your legacy is not what you leave to people, it's what you leave in people. Money can run out. Property can be sold, material things can break or be forgotten, but the lessons, values, examples, and inspiration you give others can echo for generations. Someone might chase a dream because they saw you chase yours. Someone might treat people with kindness because you treated them that way. Someone might break a barrier because you broke one first, and they'll pass that energy on. Whether they speak your name or not, that ripple is your legacy. But building legacy requires that you stop telling people who you're going to be and start becoming it. You can't talk your way into being remembered. You act your way into it. You build your way into it. You live your way into it. And that means choosing responsibility over excuses, accountability over blame, and perseverance over quitting. It means choosing character over clout. It means doing the right thing when nobody is watching. It means saying less and walking heavier. People will forget what you said, and they might even forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. If you leave people better than you found them, that energy lives on. If you pour into someone's confidence, their resilience, their belief, that energy spreads. If you stand on principles, even when it costs you, that becomes a story someone younger looks up to. That's legacy. Not the flex of the moment, but the imprint that lasts. So let your actions write the story. Let your life be the proof of what you stood for. Let the work speak for you long after you're gone. Because the real goal isn't just to live a long life. It's to live a meaningful one that outlives your physical presence. And that doesn't happen through talking about potential. It happens through execution, through contribution, through showing up with purpose. That's how you ensure your name isn't just remembered, it's respected. So from this moment forward, stop announcing, stop seeking validation, stop explaining yourself to people still stuck in chapter 1 of their own story. Get quiet, get focused, get consistent. Let them doubt you, let them sleep on you, let them laugh. Because when the results hit, they won't have nothing to say. Your success will be the loudest statement you'll ever make. And you won't have to open your mouth to deliver it.